The tension in the room was palpable, and fans watching from home could feel it through the screen. Rasheeda, usually the picture of composure, was now seething with an intensity that left everyone stunned. It all started when Yandy, never one to hold back, casually dropped a bombshell that would shake the very foundations of the family. Kirk had been involved in an affair with Jasmine. The moment those words escaped her lips, the atmosphere shifted. Emotions ran high, voices cracked, and the air felt almost electric, as if the walls themselves were holding their breath in anticipation of the fallout. Cameras captured every reaction, every gasp, every whisper that passed through the room. Because this was no ordinary revelation, this was a betrayal that struck at the heart of trust, loyalty, and love. Rasheeda's eyes widened, her jaw tightened, and for a brief, terrifying moment, it seemed like the world outside had vanished, leaving only the raw, unfiltered storm of anger and disbelief raging within her. Fans are shocked. The comments section is already ablaze with speculation. Social media exploded with clips of Rasheeda confronting Yandy, demanding answers, and questioning every decision that led to this explosive moment. How could you let this happen? Rasheeda's voice trembled with fury, cutting through the tense silence like a knife. Yandy, seemingly unfazed, met her gaze with a mixture of defiance and nervous anticipation, knowing she had just set off a chain reaction that could not be undone. Every person in the room felt the weight of the revelation. Friends, family, and even the uninvited spectators who had been drawn into the chaos. The family was left divided, alliances were questioned, and loyalty became a fragile, uncertain currency. And just when it seemed the tension had reached its peak, a sudden twist. Kirk himself entered the room, unaware of the storm waiting for him, oblivious to the accusations that had already begun to circle like vultures overhead. What would happen next? Would Rasheeda demand justice, or would the confrontation spiral completely out of control? One thing was certain. This was a moment fans would not forget. A dramatic turning point that would redefine relationships and ignite conversations for weeks to come. The room was tense, almost suffocating, as Rasheeda's gaze bore into Yandy like a thunderbolt about to strike. Her voice, low but edged with fury, broke the silence. "You're saying what?" The words reverberated, bouncing off the walls, and even those standing at a distance felt the shockwave of her anger. Yandy, trying to maintain her composure, took a slow breath, but the tremor in her hands betrayed her nerves. "Rasheeda, you need to hear this," she said carefully. Her tone measured, almost too calm, as if the weight of the truth had settled like a stone in her chest. "It's about Kirk and Jasmine." The moment the names were uttered, Rasheeda's face hardened, her jaw locking with the tension of betrayal, her eyes glinting with a mix of disbelief and fury. "Kirk and Jasmine? That's impossible," she whispered, but there was a tremor in her voice, the faintest hint of fear that this nightmare might be real. Friends and family around them exchanged uneasy glances, sensing that the atmosphere had shifted irreversibly. The air was heavy with anticipation, thick with the kind of tension that made every whisper louder than it had any right to be. Emotions ran high, the kind that crack open long-held bonds, revealing cracks that had been carefully hidden behind smiles and polite conversation. The murmurs grew louder, as if the walls themselves had started gossiping, carrying fragments of the revelation to ears that weren't meant to hear them. Rasheeda's breathing grew rapid, her fists tightening at her sides as she struggled to reconcile the image of the man she trusted with the accusations now hanging in the air. "Yandy, I don't understand. How could this happen? When? Why?" Her voice cracked, raw and unfiltered, revealing the storm inside. Yandy, facing the wrath she had unleashed, responded with measured calm but undeniable intensity. "It's been going on, Rasheeda, for months, and people have been talking, but I thought you had the right to know from me first." Rasheeda staggered back, her entire body reacting as if she had been physically struck. Every nerve in her body was alert, every thought spinning, trying to make sense of the impossible. "Months. People have been talking. And I what? I didn't notice anything," she whispered, shaking her head, her voice breaking with disbelief. Around them, the family was left divided, each person silently taking sides, each heart racing with the realization that trust had been shattered in a single, devastating moment. Fans, watching live or catching clips online, were shocked. Comments and messages exploded on social media, their fingers typing out disbelief, outrage, and sympathy. The world seemed to narrow to that single room, where every glance, every pause, and every word carried the weight of a relationship teetering on the edge of ruin. As the seconds stretched, Rasheeda finally snapped, her fury erupting like a dam breaking. She lunged toward Yandy, grabbing her by the shoulders, eyes wild, voice thunderous. How could you let this happen without telling me sooner?" Yandy, though startled, didn't falter. "I told you now, Rasheeda. I thought you needed to know the truth before it got any worse." Their argument drew gasps from the surrounding onlookers. Friends and family now leaning in, caught in the cyclone of emotions that threatened to sweep them all away. "Kirk!" Rasheeda's voice rang out, a desperate plea and accusation wrapped into one. Turning her gaze toward the door just as he appeared, he froze mid-step, sensing the tension, sensing the storm he had inadvertently walked into. "Rasheeda, what's going on?" His voice was calm, but there was an undertone of confusion, perhaps fear, creeping in as he took in the scene. Rasheeda's eyes burned into him, a combination of hurt and rage that made it clear words alone would not suffice. "Don't even try to act innocent," she snapped. "We all know. Kirk, don't lie to me now." Jasmine, who had been quietly standing to the side, felt the pressure of the moment crushing down, her presence suddenly becoming unavoidable. A focal point for all the tension and accusation, her attempts at explanation, at deflection, only fueled the fire, each word adding fuel to a blaze that seemed poised to consume them all. I didn't mean for anyone to find out like this," Jasmine stammered, eyes darting from Rasheeda to Kirk, searching for some fragment of forgiveness that might not exist. But Rasheeda's voice cut through, sharp and unforgiving. "Not mean for anyone to find out. Jasmine, this isn't just about you. It's about trust, loyalty, everything we believed in." The room felt like it was closing in, the walls shrinking with each passing second as emotions boiled over. Friends and family shifted uncomfortably, some trying to intervene, others holding back, unsure of how to stop the unfolding chaos without becoming part of it. The argument escalated, voices overlapping, accusations flying, hearts breaking in real time for anyone witnessing the drama. "I can't believe this," Rasheeda shouted, tears forming, not from sadness alone but from a combination of betrayal and shock. "After everything, Kirk, after all the years, the promises, the family, this is how it ends." Kirk opened his mouth, perhaps to explain, to apologize. But the words seemed to falter in the air, unable to bridge the chasm that now yawned between them. Yandy, standing firm amidst the chaos she had ignited, added another layer of intensity. "You need to hear this, Rasheeda. It's bigger than you think. There are things you don't know, secrets that have been hidden, lies that have been fed to you slowly so you wouldn't suspect a thing." Every eye turned toward her, the weight of her words pressing down like a physical force. The shock was nearly tangible. Whispers broke out around the room. Some tried to comfort Rasheeda, others exchanged tense glances with Kirk and Jasmine, all caught in the web of deceit, betrayal, and raw emotion. Fans at home couldn't tear their eyes away, the drama too compelling, the stakes impossibly high. Clips from the confrontation began circulating online, each share magnifying the intensity. Each comment section, a testament to the fascination and horror of witnessing such a personal storm unfold in public. Rasheeda's anger, her heartbreak, her disbelief, all played out like a tragic opera. Every gesture amplified, every tear a note in a symphony of betrayal. Kirk, realizing that denial or excuses would not suffice, attempted a hesitant explanation. "Rasheeda, it wasn't supposed to happen this way. I didn't want anyone to get hurt." But the words fell flat, their weight insufficient to counteract the tidal wave of emotion surging through the room. Jasmine's presence, silent yet accusatory, only intensified Rasheeda's rage. She had become the symbol of deception, the embodiment of broken promises, and every glance exchanged with her stoked the fire further. Voices clashed, accusations collided, and the family, once united, now stood divided. Each member caught in a complex web of loyalty, disbelief, and shock. Friends whispered to each other, some visibly shaken, while others attempted to mediate, to calm the storm that had erupted with such ferocity. The energy in the room was electric, charged with tension that made even the air seem heavy. Emotions ran high, tears streamed, voices rose and fell, each exchange building upon the last, creating an unstoppable momentum. And as the confrontation spiraled, the stakes grew ever higher. Allegiances were questioned, secrets were revealed, and the once invisible fault lines between family and friends became glaringly apparent. Rasheeda, her hands trembling but her gaze steady, finally took a step back, though the fury in her eyes did not diminish. She scanned the room, taking in the shocked faces of everyone present. The whispers, the tension, the realization that this revelation had forever changed the dynamic of their relationships. Kirk and Jasmine, caught in the eye of the storm, exchanged glances, uncertainty, and fear reflected in their eyes. They understood that nothing could return to the way it had been. Yandy, standing slightly apart, watched the chaos she had ignited. Her own emotions, a mixture of anxiety and vindication. She knew she had delivered a truth that could not be ignored, a revelation that would echo far beyond this room. And as the initial wave of shock and confrontation began to settle, a fragile silence fell, punctuated only by ragged breaths, whispered apologies, and the faintest sounds of heartbreak. But the tension had not dissipated entirely. Every glance, every movement carried the memory of the confrontation. A lingering reminder that trust had been shattered, and that the fallout was far from over. This was only the beginning. The opening act of a drama that would unfold in ways none of them could predict. Alliances would shift, secrets would surface, and emotions would continue to run high, leaving everyone wondering what the next twist would bring. And who would ultimately emerge from this chaos unscathed. The silence that followed Rasheeda's explosive confrontation was short-lived, almost deceptive in its calm, as if the room itself was holding its breath before plunging back into chaos. Kirk, still grappling with the reality of being caught, attempted to step forward, his hands raised in a gesture meant to placate, to explain, yet the weight of the moment rendered him nearly immobile. "Rasheeda, please, just listen. I can explain." His voice faltered, swallowed by the intensity of the scene. Rasheeda's eyes, sharp and unyielding, cut through his words like daggers. "Explain. Explain what, Kirk? How you could betray everything we built. How you could risk our family, our trust, everything, for her." Her voice trembled with a mixture of disbelief and rage, each word striking with the precision of a weapon honed for maximum emotional impact. Jasmine, sensing the rising tension, took a hesitant step back. Her hands clasped tightly in front of her, as though holding on to some fragile semblance of control. I never meant for this to happen like this," she whispered, the words barely audible over the storm. Yandy, standing to the side, interjected with a calmness that belied the chaos she had unleashed. "Rasheeda, you need to hear the full truth. This isn't just about what you saw. There's more. And it's time you knew everything." The room's temperature seemed to rise with each passing second, each revelation acting like a spark in a powder keg. Friends and family shifted uncomfortably, their own emotions tangled in the web of betrayal, shock, and anger. Whispers circulated, voices hushed but urgent, as everyone tried to process the layers of deception now laid bare before them. Rasheeda's breathing grew shallow, each inhale a struggle, each exhale a storm of suppressed emotion. "I trusted you, Kirk," she said, her voice barely controlled. "I trusted all of you. And now this." Kirk's eyes darted toward Jasmine, a silent admission that words alone could not express the turmoil within him. "It wasn't supposed to be like this," he muttered. But his explanation seemed hollow against the sheer magnitude of the betrayal. Jasmine, sensing the shifting gaze, tried to defend herself. "I never wanted to hurt anyone. I just," but the words faltered, choked by the overwhelming judgment in the room. Yandy, standing firm, added another layer of complexity. "It's bigger than you think, Rasheeda. There are things hidden, things Kirk and Jasmine didn't want you to know." Rasheeda's hands flew to her face, her fingers trembling as the weight of betrayal crashed down upon her. "Hidden, more secrets. How deep does this go?" The question hung in the air, unanswered, as tension rippled through the room like a living thing. Friends and family exchanged glances, some leaning in, some stepping back, unsure how to navigate the storm that had engulfed them all. Outside, the faint buzz of social media was relentless. Fans, glued to their screens, commented in real time, expressing shock, outrage, and a desperate curiosity about what would happen next. Clips of the confrontation began circulating rapidly, each share adding fuel to the ever-growing fire. The energy in the room was almost unbearable. Rasheeda, her emotions teetering on the edge of collapse, turned back to Kirk, her eyes blazing with unspoken questions and raw fury. "Why, Kirk? After everything, why her? Why Jasmine?" Kirk swallowed hard, his mouth opening to respond, yet no words seemed adequate. The gravity of the situation weighed heavily on him, the realization that no excuse or explanation could erase the damage inflicted. Jasmine, feeling the piercing intensity of Rasheeda's gaze, stumbled backward, her own emotions tangled with fear and guilt. I didn't mean for any of this," she repeated, her voice shaking, but the words fell on deaf ears. The room seemed to pulse with emotion, every movement, every glance, every whispered word magnifying the intensity of the moment. Even those who had tried to maintain neutrality found themselves drawn in, their loyalties tested, their hearts pounding with the uncertainty of what would come next. Yandy, watching closely, saw the opportunity to push further, to reveal more of the hidden truths that had been carefully guarded. You deserve to know everything, she said, her voice calm but firm. Not just this fragment of betrayal. There's more things you've been kept in the dark about for too long. Rasheeda's hands shook as she wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself, but the storm inside her showed no sign of abating. More. What else? How much more am I supposed to take? Her voice, though trembling, carried the weight of a woman pushed to her limits, forced to confront not only betrayal but a cascade of secrets that threatened to dismantle everything she had believed. Kirk, finally finding a sliver of courage, spoke again, his words tentative yet urgent. Rasheeda, I never meant for it to happen like this. You have to understand. But Rasheeda interrupted, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. Understand? You expect me to understand after everything? After the lies, the secrecy, the betrayal? Her eyes glimmered with tears, yet the fury remained unquenched. Jasmine's presence, once peripheral, now became central to the unfolding drama. Every glance, every movement from her acted as a catalyst, igniting Rasheeda's anger and amplifying the tension that had been building for months, perhaps years. The room was a maelstrom of raw emotion, each individual caught in the whirlwind of accusation, defense, and the desperate search for answers. Friends whispered nervously, unsure whether to intervene or stand back. Their own emotions tangled in the drama unfolding before them. Social media buzzed, clips of the confrontation spreading like wildfire. Fans speculating endlessly about the hidden layers of betrayal and the potential consequences. Rasheeda, finally finding her voice amid the chaos, shouted, I trusted you, all of you, and now I'm supposed to just accept this? Her words reverberated, shaking the very foundations of the room, leaving an indelible mark on everyone present. Kirk and Jasmine exchanged a glance, the weight of the situation pressing down on them, realizing that no explanation, no apology, could undo the magnitude of the revelation. Yandy, sensing the moment, continued, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the storm around her. This isn't just about Kirk and Jasmine, she said, her tone deliberate. There are other truths, other betrayals you need to understand if you're going to navigate what comes next. Rasheeda's eyes narrowed, every muscle in her body taut with tension. Other betrayals? How many more are there? She demanded. The question lingered, unanswered, as the room seemed to hold its breath once again, teetering on the edge of further chaos. Every person present felt the weight of the moment, the undeniable reality that lives, relationships, and loyalties had been irrevocably altered. The confrontation, though momentarily paused, had set in motion a series of events that could not be contained. Each revelation acting as a spark in an already volatile environment. Friends and family braced themselves, knowing that this was only the beginning, that the layers of truth yet to be uncovered could be even more devastating. Social media continued to erupt, fans dissecting every gesture, every word, every expression, their fascination growing with each new development. Rasheeda, her emotions, a mixture of heartbreak and fury, turned her gaze inward for a brief moment, trying to collect herself, to find a sense of clarity amid the storm. But clarity was elusive, drowned out by the cacophony of accusation, betrayal, and raw, unfiltered emotion. Kirk, sensing the depth of the chasm he had created, attempted once more to speak. But the words seemed inadequate, unable to bridge the widening gap between trust and betrayal. Jasmine, standing nearby, felt the full weight of the situation pressing down, realizing that the repercussions of her actions extended far beyond her own guilt. Yandy, observing the entire scene, remained a calm yet firm presence, aware that she had catalyzed a chain reaction that could not be undone. The room, though momentarily still, was charged with tension, every glance, every movement, every whispered word a reminder that the drama was far from over. Alliances had shifted, trust had been shattered, and the stage was set for a confrontation that would test the limits of loyalty, love, and forgiveness. Rasheeda, her hands trembling but her resolve intact, took a deep breath, preparing herself for the next wave of revelation, the next surge of emotion that would inevitably come. The drama, though momentarily paused, had only just begun to unfold, leaving everyone present and everyone watching from afar on the edge of their seats, wondering what would happen next, who would be hurt, and who, if anyone, could emerge unscathed from the storm. The tension in the room refused to dissipate, thickening with every passing second as Rasheeda's anger and disbelief refused to settle. Her eyes burned with a mixture of fury and heartbreak, scanning Kirk and Jasmine with an intensity that left everyone uneasy. I can't believe this, she whispered, shaking her head as if trying to make sense of a nightmare. All these years, and this is what it comes down to. Kirk, caught between guilt and the need to defend himself, took a tentative step forward. Rasheeda, please. You have to understand. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. His voice was calm, almost pleading. But Rasheeda wasn't listening. Her emotions had become a storm that no words could pierce. Jasmine, sensing the raw energy directed at her, shrank slightly. Her fingers intertwined as she tried to appear composed. I never wanted to hurt anyone, she said, the tremor in her voice betraying her attempt at control. Yandy, still standing nearby, remained the calm in the chaos. Her presence a deliberate anchor. Rasheeda, you deserve to know the full truth, she said. This goes beyond what you've been told. There are layers here that you haven't seen. Secrets that have been hidden to protect you or, maybe to control you. Rasheeda's hands flew to her face, tears threatening to spill, but her posture remained rigid, defiance etched into every line of her body. Control me? Secrets? How much more do I have to take? The question lingered in the room, heavy and accusatory, as if challenging the very fabric of trust that had once held them together. Friends and family exchanged uneasy glances. Some reached for Rasheeda, hoping to offer comfort, while others stepped back, uncertain how to navigate the tension that had escalated beyond anything they had anticipated. Outside, social media had already exploded. Fans shared snippets of the confrontation, dissecting every look, every word, every inflection, as if each tiny detail held the key to understanding the chaos unfolding in real time. Rasheeda's anger, a volatile mixture of heartbreak and fury, now demanded answers. Kirk, Jasmine, I need to know everything, not just bits and pieces everything. The intensity in her voice forced silence, each person in the room feeling the weight of her demand. Kirk swallowed hard, his throat dry, eyes darting to Jasmine, searching for support that didn't exist. It started months ago, he admitted quietly, almost reluctantly. I didn't plan for it to happen. I thought it could stay hidden, but his voice trailed off, unable to finish the sentence without further igniting Rasheeda's fury. Months ago, Rasheeda repeated, her voice rising. Months. And you expect me to believe you didn't feel anything? Didn't think about me? About our family? Jasmine's eyes filled with tears, guilt written plainly across her face. I tried to stop it, she whispered. I really did. But, Rasheeda cut her off sharply, her words a whip of raw emotion. Stop it, Jasmine, it's too late for trying to stop it now. You've shattered everything. The room seemed to contract under the pressure of their emotions, walls closing in as voices rose and fell in a symphony of confrontation. Yandy, observing the chaos, pushed further, her words deliberate, her tone steady amidst the storm. Rasheeda, there's more. You need to know about the hidden messages, the secret meetings, the plans that were whispered behind closed doors. This isn't just a simple betrayal, it's layered, intricate, and deliberate. Rasheeda froze, her breath catching in her throat. Hidden messages, secret meetings, plans. What are you saying? How deep does this go? The room was silent, everyone hanging on her every word, as if afraid to breathe too loudly and disturb the fragile tension. Kirk shifted uncomfortably, the weight of confession pressing down on him. It wasn't meant to hurt anyone, he said again, the repetition highlighting the futility of explanation in the face of such raw anger. Jasmine stepped forward slightly, desperation creeping into her posture. Rasheeda, I never wanted this. I never wanted to hurt you. It just happened. Rasheeda's eyes narrowed, the combination of betrayal and incredulity turning her gaze sharp and unrelenting. Happened? You expect me to accept that this just happened? Do you have any idea what you've destroyed? Tears slipped down her cheeks, but the fury behind them did not waver. Friends and family around them whispered nervously, unsure how to intervene without becoming entangled in the emotional whirlwind. Even those who had once been loyal found themselves questioning where allegiances truly lay, as the storm of accusations and confessions threatened to dismantle the bonds that had held them together. Social media continued its relentless assault, fans dissecting every glance, every gesture, every word. Clips of the confrontation went viral, each share amplifying the intensity of the drama, leaving viewers worldwide captivated by the raw, unfiltered emotion playing out before them. Rasheeda, finally finding a measure of composure amidst the chaos, took a deep breath. I need to understand everything, not just from you, Kirk, but from everyone involved. Secrets, lies, betrayals. I want it all laid bare. The demand hung in the air like a challenge, daring anyone present to meet her intensity. Kirk looked at Jasmine, then at Yandy, the weight of truth pressing down like a tangible force. If you're ready to hear it all, he began cautiously, then we'll tell you everything. Jasmine's hands trembled as she nodded, a silent agreement that the floodgates were about to open. Yandy stepped back slightly, her calm demeanor contrasting sharply with the storm she had helped unleash. Be prepared, Rasheeda. This isn't going to be easy. Some truths might break you, but you deserve to hear them. The room felt charged, the air vibrating with the anticipation of revelations yet to come. Rasheeda's heart pounded, a mixture of dread and determination coursing through her veins. I'm ready, she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Tell me everything. I need to know who I can trust, and who I can't. With that, the first threads of confession began to unravel, each detail more shocking than the last. Each revelation twisting deeper into the web of betrayal that had ensnared them all. Alliances shifted visibly, the once clear lines of loyalty now blurred beyond recognition. Friends, family, even the onlookers caught in this intimate storm, felt the gravity of each admission. Kirk's voice, shaky yet deliberate, began recounting hidden messages, secret meetings, and choices made in shadows. Jasmine added her perspective, her voice cracking with guilt and the weight of truth finally laid bare. Yandy observed with quiet intensity, her role as the truth-bearer cemented. Knowing that the chain reaction she had initiated was irreversible, Rasheeda, though shaken, listened intently, piecing together the puzzle of betrayal, deception, and hidden agendas. Each revelation fueled her anger, but also a growing clarity. A brutal understanding of the scope of deceit that had been orchestrated around her. The room, once silent but for gasps and whispers, was now a theater of confrontation, emotion, and raw humanity. The storm of betrayal had not yet reached its end, but the foundation for the next wave had been firmly laid. Every word spoken, every confession made, every tear shed marked a step deeper into the drama that would continue to unravel, exposing truths that none of them could ignore, and setting the stage for confrontations, reckonings, and emotional explosions that would resonate far beyond the walls of the room. Friends and family, caught in the maelstrom, braced themselves, uncertain of who would emerge victorious, who would be broken, and who might find a path to redemption amidst the chaos. Rasheeda's eyes remained sharp, her posture tense, her mind racing through the revelations as she prepared for the next chapter of this unfolding drama. The confessions continued to spill out, each one more shocking than the last, layering the room with tension so thick it felt almost tangible. Rasheeda, standing rigid and unyielding, listened with a mixture of horror and disbelief as Kirk detailed the extent of his involvement with Jasmine. It started with a moment of weakness, he admitted, his voice low, but every syllable was heavy with regret. I never intended for it to get this far, but once it did, I didn't know how to stop it. Rasheeda's lips pressed into a thin line, her hands clenched at her sides, her body trembling with the weight of betrayal. A moment of weakness. That's your excuse, she demanded, her voice rising, echoing in the room like a crack of lightning. Jasmine, standing nearby, felt the intensity of Rasheeda's gaze burn through her. She opened her mouth, attempting to defend herself, but the words caught in her throat. I never wanted to hurt anyone, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the roar of emotions. Yandy, calm yet deliberate, stepped closer. Rasheeda, you need to understand the full picture. There are patterns here, choices that were repeated, things hidden from you intentionally. It wasn't just a mistake, it was a sequence, a chain of decisions that led us here. Rasheeda's eyes narrowed, scanning the faces of everyone around her. Patterns. Chain of decisions. How many more lies are there? How deep does this go? The question hung in the air, unanswered. The silence almost unbearable as the weight of the room's collective emotions pressed down on everyone present. Friends and family exchanged anxious glances, unsure whether to intervene or watch silently as the storm of emotions raged on. Even those who had tried to maintain neutrality found themselves unwilling spectators to the unraveling of trust, the breaking of bonds, and the eruption of raw human emotion. Outside, the social media frenzy escalated. Clips of the confrontation circulated rapidly, each share magnifying the intensity of the drama. Fans dissected every glance, every gesture, every syllable of dialogue, their fascination feeding the fire. Rasheeda, her hands trembling slightly but her resolve intact, turned back to Kirk. Explain everything, she demanded. I want the truth, every last detail. Kirk swallowed hard, his throat dry, and began recounting the hidden encounters. The whispered phone calls, the moments meant to be secret. Jasmine added her own perspective, her voice cracking as she admitted her part in the unfolding betrayal. The room was electric with tension. Each revelation felt like a strike, each admission a blow that left scars visible only to those present. Friends whispered nervously to one another, some attempting to soothe the chaos, others frozen by the magnitude of the moment. Rasheeda's fury intensified with each word, but so did her clarity. She began to piece together the web of deceit, understanding not only the scope of the betrayal but also the layers of manipulation that had allowed it to continue unnoticed. "You think I won't find out everything?" she shouted, her voice ringing with determination. "Every secret, every lie, every betrayal lie, will know it all." Kirk and Jasmine exchanged a tense glance, the gravity of her statement settling over them like a heavy fog. Yandy, observing the unfolding drama, maintained her position as the catalyst of truth. "Rasheeda, brace yourself," she said. "Some of what you'll hear next might break you, but it's time. You deserve to see everything, no matter how painful." Rasheeda's hands flew to her face briefly as she fought back tears, but the storm within her was far from over. Her anger, heartbreak, and disbelief mingled, forming a force that seemed almost unstoppable. Friends and family, caught in the crossfire, tried to navigate the tension without tipping it further, some stepping back while others offered quiet support. The confrontation had evolved into a crucible, a place where raw emotion, betrayal, and the search for truth collided in an almost cinematic display. "Why now?" Rasheeda asked, her voice a mixture of fury and anguish. "Why did it take this long for anyone to say anything?" Yandy's eyes met hers, calm but unwavering. "Because the truth was always dangerous. It was hidden to protect maybe to control what you would see. But now, Rasheeda, it can't be hidden any longer." The words struck like a bell, each one resonating with undeniable truth. The room seemed to pulse with anticipation, every person aware that the story unfolding would change relationships, allegiances, and trust forever. Kirk stepped closer, desperation creeping into his posture. "I wish I could undo it, Rasheeda. I never meant for it to get this far. I can't change what's happened, but I can try to make it right." Rasheeda's gaze burned into him, unforgiving and unyielding. "Make it right? Do you even know what that means? After all this, after everything?" Jasmine's presence, once secondary, now became central to the tension. Every glance, every movement from her acted as a catalyst, igniting Rasheeda's anger and amplifying the storm that had been brewing for months. Friends and family shifted uneasily, aware that each confession was another step deeper into a labyrinth of betrayal and heartbreak. Social media continued to pulse with interest, fans dissecting every interaction, every tear, every angry outburst, drawn to the raw, unfiltered human drama playing out in real time. Rasheeda, her body tense but her resolve strengthening, took a deep breath. "I need every detail," she said, her voice steady despite the turmoil. "Every secret, every lie, every choice that brought us here. No omissions, no excuses." Kirk nodded, swallowing hard, and began recounting every hidden message, every secret meeting, every whispered conversation that had led to this explosive revelation. Jasmine followed, adding her perspective, her voice trembling with guilt and fear. Yandy observed, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos surrounding her. She had unleashed a truth that could no longer be contained, knowing the repercussions would ripple far beyond the walls of the room. The air was charged, every glance, every movement, every whispered word acting as a thread weaving the intricate tapestry of betrayal, heartbreak, and revelation. Rasheeda listened intently, piecing together the narrative, her emotions a mixture of pain, anger, and a brutal clarity that allowed her to see the depth of the deceit. Friends and family, caught in the maelstrom, braced themselves, uncertain of what each new revelation would bring. Trust had been shattered, alliances questioned, and the once invisible fault lines between relationships now glaringly apparent. The confrontation, though at moments punctuated by pauses, had set in motion a chain reaction of emotional turmoil that could not be contained. Each confession, each admission, each tear shed left an indelible mark, shaping the path forward, defining the relationships, and cementing the reality that nothing would ever be the same. Rasheeda's gaze, fierce and unwavering, scanned the room once more. She had absorbed the initial wave of betrayal, but she knew the deeper truths were still to come. The storm had not abated, had only intensified, preparing the stage for further revelations, confrontations, and moments of raw, unfiltered emotion that would continue to unfold, leaving everyone present and everyone watching gripped by the sheer intensity of the drama surrounding Kirk, Jasmine, Rasheeda, and the intricate web of secrets that bound them all. The room had transformed into a crucible of raw emotion, a place where betrayal, anger, and heartbreak collided in ways that none of the people present could have anticipated. Rasheeda's eyes, wide and blazing with fury, followed every movement, every gesture, as if willing the truth to reveal itself before her. "I need to know everything," she said again, her voice taut, filled with the unrelenting force of someone pushed to the edge of endurance. Kirk, shifting uneasily under her gaze, struggled to find words that could convey the depth of the chaos he had contributed to. Rasheeda. It started months ago, he murmured, almost in defeat. I never planned for it to go this far, but once it started, I didn't know how to stop it. Rasheeda's laughter was bitter, hollow, and dripping with incredulity. Months ago. Do you realize what that means? The lies, the hiding, the manipulation, it all adds up. Kirk, do you know how that feels? Knowing someone you love has been living a double life. Jasmine, who had been standing silently, finally found the courage to speak. I didn't want to hurt you, she said, voice quivering. I never intended for anyone to find out, but it spiraled out of control. Her words were immediately cut off by Rasheeda's sharp, cutting tone. Spiraled out of control. Spiraled. Do you hear yourself? This is my life, my family, and you've treated it like some careless game. The surrounding friends and family were tense. Each person caught in the web of drama, unsure whether to intervene or remain silent. The atmosphere was suffocating. Every heartbeat and shallow breath amplified by the weight of the betrayal that hung heavy in the air. Yandy.com, amidst the storm, stepped forward. Rasheeda, you need to hear the full story, she said firmly. There's more than just Kirk and Jasmine. There are other threads in this web of deception that you've been kept from seeing. Rasheeda's fists clenched, her knuckles white, her entire body trembling with controlled rage. Other threads. More secrets. How much more do I have to endure? The room fell silent as everyone waited for the revelations to continue. Each person aware that the next words could shatter what little equilibrium remained. Kirk inhaled sharply, his eyes darting to Jasmine, and then back at Rasheeda. There were meetings, hidden conversations, messages sent in secret. I thought I was protecting everyone, but I realize now, I only made things worse. Rasheeda's gaze hardened. Protecting everyone. Kirk, you've destroyed trust. You've dismantled the very foundation of what we built together. Jasmine's shoulders shook with guilt, her voice barely above a whisper. I tried to stop it, but, Rasheeda interrupted, her voice a whip. You tried. It's too late for trying. You've crossed the line, Jasmine, and there's no taking it back. The emotional energy in the room was nearly unbearable. Every word, every glance, every tear adding to the intensity. Friends and family whispered nervously, some attempting to calm the situation, others frozen by the sheer force of the confrontation. Social media had already caught wind of the drama, clips spreading like wildfire, fans dissecting each expression, each syllable, as if their own hearts were entwined with the unfolding betrayal. Rasheeda, struggling to maintain composure, took a deep breath. I want to know everything, every lie, every secret, every moment that led to this. I will not leave a stone unturned. Kirk nodded, swallowing hard, and began recounting every hidden interaction. Every covert message, every meeting that had been concealed. Jasmine added her voice, admitting her role, her tremors betraying the weight of her guilt. Yandy, the calm orchestrator of truth, observed. Knowing the chain reaction of revelations she had set in motion was unstoppable, the room felt electric with tension, every whispered word, every glance, every reaction weaving together the complex narrative of betrayal, heartbreak, and revelation. Rasheeda's fury mixed with a growing clarity, her mind racing as she pieced together the sequence of lies and hidden intentions. Friends and family, caught in the emotional whirlwind, watched silently, bracing themselves for each new confession. Alliances began to shift visibly, trust once taken for granted, now fractured. And the stage was set for further confrontations that would test loyalty, courage, and the resilience of broken hearts. Rasheeda's voice, though still trembling, carried a determination that could not be ignored. I will face this. I will uncover every truth. No lie, no omission will escape me. Kirk and Jasmine exchanged tense glances, realizing that the storm they had set in motion was only intensifying. Yandy.com and watchful, knew that the revelations had only just begun. Each confession, each tear, each admission added another layer to the complex emotional tapestry enveloping everyone in the room. Rasheeda's resolve was evident. She had absorbed the initial shock, but the deeper truths were still hidden, waiting to surface. The room was alive with anticipation, tension, and the undeniable reality that nothing would ever be the same. Friends, family, and even onlookers were caught in the maelstrom of drama, aware that the fallout from this confrontation would ripple far beyond the walls of the room. Rasheeda, her hands trembling slightly but her gaze unwavering, prepared for the next wave of revelations. Every detail, every confession, every hidden truth was a step deeper into a narrative of betrayal and heartbreak that would leave lasting scars. The drama had not reached its conclusion, it was evolving, building, and intensifying. leaving everyone present and everyone watching around the world captivated by the raw, unfiltered human emotion unfolding before them. The storm of betrayal, deception, and heartbreak was far from over, and Rasheeda, though shaken, was determined to face it head-on, uncovering every hidden layer, and demanding accountability from those who had dared to deceive her. The revelations continued to cascade, each one more intense than the last. As Rasheeda absorbed the unfolding storm with a mixture of fury, disbelief, and heartbreaking clarity, Kirk, shifting nervously, spoke again, his voice strained under the weight of his own guilt. "Rasheeda, I know I've made it impossible to trust me right now, but there's more. You deserve the full truth." Rasheeda's eyes narrowed, her body rigid with controlled rage. "More? How much more are you hiding? How long have I been living in a lie?" Jasmine, standing to the side, wrung her hands together, her voice shaking. "I didn't plan for this to spiral. I never wanted anyone to get hurt." Rasheeda's gaze snapped to her, sharp and unrelenting. "You didn't want anyone to get hurt. Really? You've shattered everything." Yandy.com, but deliberate, stepped closer. "Rasheeda, it's time you see the entire web, every secret, every lie, every betrayal. The truth cannot be softened anymore." The room seemed to vibrate under the weight of her words. Every whisper, every sideways glance, every subtle movement was magnified, the air thick with anticipation and tension. Friends and family, caught between loyalty and shock, shifted uncomfortably, unsure whether to intervene or simply bear witness to the unraveling of trust. Outside, social media was ablaze. Fans dissected every movement, every syllable, sharing clips, forming theories, and debating loyalties as if their own emotions were entwined with the unfolding drama. Rasheeda, fists clenched at her sides, demanded, "Tell me everything. Now. No more half-truths. No more omissions." Kirk's throat tightened. "It started with the messages, the secret calls. Then it escalated. I didn't know how to stop it, and by the time I realized the damage, it was too late." Rasheeda's voice rose, cutting through the tense air like a whip. "Too late, too late. Do you have any idea what this has done to me, to our family?" Jasmine's eyes brimmed with tears, her voice trembling. "I tried to end it, but it wasn't simple. I got caught up, and I didn't know how to fix it." Rasheeda's jaw tightened, fury and heartbreak warring in her expression. "Caught up? You've betrayed everything we had, everything we built. How could you even think that was acceptable?" The room was electric, every heart pounding, every nerve on edge. Friends and family whispered among themselves, some offering quiet reassurances, others frozen in stunned silence as they processed the magnitude of the revelations. Kirk, sensing the intensity, tried again. "Rasheeda, I never wanted this to happen. I thought I could handle it, but I was wrong. I see that now." Rasheeda's eyes, glinting with rage and pain, bore into him. "Handle it, Kirk. You've destroyed trust, shattered hearts, and exposed us all to humiliation. How do you propose to handle it now?" Yandy interjected, steady and unyielding. "Rasheeda, there are still details that are crucial for you to know. Things that will explain the patterns, the decisions, and the hidden choices that led to this confrontation." Rasheeda's hands flew to her face, fingers trembling, tears threatening to fall. "Explain. Nothing can explain this. Nothing." The room's silence was punctuated by the distant hum of social media notifications, a constant reminder that the world outside was watching, analyzing, judging, and speculating about every moment unfolding within these walls. Jasmine stepped forward, slightly, her shoulders shaking. "Rasheeda, I'm sorry. I know words aren't enough, but I'm telling you the truth now. Every step, every choice." Rasheeda's voice cut through, sharp and commanding. "I don't want half-truths, Jasmine. I want the full truth. Every lie, every hidden conversation, every decision you made that led to this." Kirk nodded, swallowing hard, and began recounting in painstaking detail the series of events, each confession peeling back another layer of deception. Jasmine added her perspective, her voice quivering as she revealed moments that she had desperately hoped would remain secret. Yandy watched silently, ensuring that the truth was laid bare, unfiltered and uncompromising, fully aware that the emotional fallout would be explosive. The room was alive with tension, the emotional energy almost tangible. Every movement, every tear, every flash of anger or guilt intensified the atmosphere, leaving friends and family teetering on the edge of their own emotional equilibrium. Rasheeda, though shaken, remained resolute. She listened intently, processing each revelation with a mixture of pain and a growing understanding of the depth of betrayal she had been subjected to. Alliances shifted visibly as truths were unveiled. Trust fractured irreparably, and relationships strained under the weight of deception and heartbreak. Rasheeda's voice, though tinged with vulnerability, carried a strength that demanded attention. I will hear it all, every hidden truth, every secret, no omission will escape me. The room felt suspended, every person present aware that the storm was far from over. Kirk and Jasmine exchanged tense glances, knowing that the emotional turbulence they had caused was only intensifying, and that the road to redemption, if there was one, would be long, fraught, and uncertain. Social media buzzed endlessly, fans dissecting every gesture, every word, every look. Captivated by the sheer intensity of the human drama unfolding, Rasheeda's eyes scanned the room, absorbing the details, the confessions, and the weight of betrayal with a clarity born from raw emotion. She braced herself for the next revelation, the next confession, the next wave of truth that would continue to shape and redefine the relationships around her. Friends and family, caught in the emotional maelstrom, held their breath, knowing that the revelations had only begun to unfold. Trust had been destroyed, alliances questioned, and the stage set for confrontations that would test loyalty, courage, and the resilience of everyone involved. Rasheeda's hands, trembling but determined, reflected the storm inside her. Every confession, every admission, every tear shed was a step deeper into a narrative of heartbreak, deception, and confrontation that would leave lasting marks on everyone present. The drama had evolved beyond mere argument. It was now an intricate web of emotional turmoil, exposing secrets, testing bonds, and revealing truths that could no longer be hidden. As the next round of confessions began to surface, Rasheeda's resolve only strengthened. She was determined to uncover every detail, to confront every betrayal, and to demand accountability from those who had deceived her. The intensity of the storm was unrelenting, the emotional stakes higher than ever, and the path forward uncertain, leaving everyone in the room and watching worldwide divided by the unfolding spectacle of truth, anger, and heartbreak. The revelations continued, each confession hitting like a thunderclap, shaking the room with a force that left no heart untouched. Rasheeda's eyes burned with an intensity that could melt steel, her anger a blazing storm fueled by betrayal, deceit, and heartbreak. I need every detail, she demanded, her voice steady but laced with venom. Every lie, every secret, every choice that brought us here. I will not be spared the truth. Kirk swallowed hard, the weight of his guilt pressing down on him, and began recounting events he had hidden, moments he wished he could erase. It wasn't just about Jasmine. There were texts, secret calls, meetings behind your back, he admitted, voice strained. I thought I could manage it, keep it from hurting you, but it only got worse. Rasheeda's laugh was hollow, almost hysterical, echoing through the tense room. Manage it? Worse. Do you realize what you've done? How many nights I cried, how many moments I questioned myself, while you were hiding this? Jasmine, trembling, stepped closer. I never wanted to hurt you, Rasheeda. I didn't want anyone to find out, but Rasheeda cut her off sharply. But what? It spiraled. It wasn't meant to happen. Do you understand the devastation you've caused? Friends and families shifted nervously, their eyes darting between the central figures, unsure how to intervene without igniting further chaos. Yandy.com amidst the storm, interjected. Rasheeda, there's more than just the affair. There are layers, decisions, patterns, choices that need to be revealed. You deserve the full picture, not fragments. Rasheeda's fists clenched, her knuckles white, trembling with a controlled fury. I want the full picture. No omissions. No excuses. I want everything laid bare. Kirk took a deep breath, recounting every hidden encounter, every clandestine conversation, and every whispered promise broken. Jasmine added her perspective, her voice cracking as she revealed moments of vulnerability and regret that she had hoped would remain concealed. Each confession felt like a physical blow, tearing at the very fabric of trust that had once held them together. The air was electric with tension, every movement, every tear, every spoken word magnified in intensity. Social media exploded with clips and commentary, fans dissecting every interaction, every glance, every word, eager to piece together the drama in real time. Rasheeda's fury, though tempered by moments of heartbreaking vulnerability, only grew sharper with each revelation. Do you have any idea what you've done? She demanded, her voice rising. How much pain you've caused, not just to me, but to everyone around us. Kirk and Jasmine exchanged nervous glances, the weight of accountability pressing down on them. Yandy's calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the chaos, her presence a constant reminder that the truth could no longer be hidden. Brace yourself, Rasheeda, she said. Some of these revelations might shatter you, but they are yours to hear. Only then can you begin to process what's been done. The tension in the room thickened, heavy with unsaid words, accusations, and heartbreak. Rasheeda's mind raced, attempting to piece together the mosaic of betrayal, deceit, and manipulation that had been carefully constructed behind her back. Friends and family, caught in the crossfire, whispered to each other, their own hearts racing as they tried to navigate the emotional turbulence without becoming collateral damage. Kirk's voice wavered as he continued, detailing moments he regretted, choices that spiraled into chaos, and attempts to conceal truths that had only amplified the hurt. Jasmine's confessions added layers of complexity, revealing motivations, fears, and miscalculations that had led to the explosive confrontation. Rasheeda absorbed every word, her fury tempered by a growing clarity, a brutal understanding of how deeply trust had been violated. Alliances shifted visibly, old friendships strained, and the intricate web of relationships began to unravel before the eyes of everyone present. "I will not let this go unanswered," Rasheeda said, voice trembling but resolute. "Every deception, every lie, every betrayal will be confronted. No one will escape accountability." The room seemed suspended in a charged stillness, each person aware that the storm had only intensified, and that the journey through confession, confrontation, and emotional reckoning was far from over. Social media buzzed endlessly, viewers dissecting every gesture, every word, every reaction, captivated by the raw and unfiltered display of human emotion. Rasheeda's gaze remained sharp, unwavering, as she prepared for the next wave of revelations. Each confession, each tear, each admission pushed the boundaries of heartbreak, trust, and human endurance. Friends and family, caught in the maelstrom, braced themselves for what would come next, aware that relationships would be tested, alliances questioned, and the fallout from these revelations would echo far beyond the walls of the room. Rasheeda's resolve grew stronger with every detail revealed. She would confront every lie, every secret, and demand the truth from everyone involved, ensuring that no deception went unchallenged. The intensity of the storm was unrelenting, emotions spiraling higher, and the drama escalating to a point where nothing would ever be the same. The confrontation was no longer a simple affair of betrayal, it had evolved into a battle for truth, trust, and emotional clarity, with every person in the room and every observer online caught in the gripping, heart-wrenching, and explosive unfolding of secrets that had been hidden for far too long. Rasheeda, determined and unyielding, prepared herself to face the deepest layers of deception, knowing that only by confronting the full truth could she begin to reclaim her life, her trust, and her sense of agency amidst the chaos that had engulfed them all. As the revelations continued to pour forth, the room seemed to shrink, the walls closing in on everyone, making every breath feel like an effort. The air was thick with tension, and Rasheeda, though trembling with rage, refused to back down. Her eyes, burning with an unrelenting fury, never left Kirk and Jasmine. "Do you even understand the gravity of what you've done?" she demanded, her voice steady yet saturated with an overwhelming sadness. "This isn't just an affair, it's everything we built, everything I trusted you with." Kirk, visibly shaking, took a step forward, but Rasheeda held up a hand, stopping him cold. "Don't you dare try to explain this away. Every single lie, every secret you've kept, every time you looked me in the eye and pretended everything was fine, that's what I can't forgive." The words cut through the room, hitting Kirk like a physical blow. He froze, unable to speak, as though every ounce of courage had been drained from him in that instant. Jasmine, standing just a few feet away, couldn't meet Rasheeda's piercing gaze. Instead, she stared down at the floor, wringing her hands nervously. "Rasheeda, I never meant for any of this to happen. I never wanted to hurt you." Her voice cracked under the weight of her words, and the sincerity in her eyes made it clear she was deeply remorseful. But Rasheeda was not moved. Not anymore. She had no more room for excuses, no more time for tears. "You didn't want to hurt me." Rasheeda's voice was a whisper now, edged with disbelief. "You think that makes it better? You think that somehow makes this okay?" Her eyes flicked between Kirk and Jasmine, as if trying to pierce through them, to strip them of every lie and every defense they still tried to hold on to. "You have shattered everything," she continued, her voice growing louder with every word. "Not just our marriage, not just the trust we had, but everything. You've torn apart a life that I thought was real, a family I thought I had." The room fell silent for a long moment. Rasheeda's words hung in the air, heavy and unyielding. Even those who had been standing by, watching the drama unfold, felt the weight of her grief. Friends and family, who had once been loyal to the couple, now stood uncertain, caught between their loyalty to each individual and the sheer force of Rasheeda's heartbreak. Yandy, ever the calm presence, took a step forward, her voice quiet but firm. "Rasheeda, there's more. I know it's hard to hear this, but the deeper truths haven't come out yet. You need to know everything." Rasheeda turned toward Yandy, her expression one of exhaustion mixed with fury. What more could there possibly be? Her words were strained, as though she were on the brink of breaking. Yandy nodded, her face serious. "There are more lies, more betrayals. It's not just about the affair between Kirk and Jasmine. There are other things, decisions they made together, things that were said and planned in secret, things that would make this entire situation even worse if you don't hear them now." Rasheeda's eyes widened with disbelief, as if she hadn't thought it possible for things to become any more twisted. But she needed to know. She needed to know the full extent of the damage that had been done. Tell me everything," Rasheeda demanded, her voice steady but full of the same fury that had driven her through this entire confrontation. She wasn't going to leave until she had every piece of the puzzle, no matter how much it hurt. Kirk looked at Jasmine, his face etched with guilt, and then back to Rasheeda. "Rasheeda, we didn't just sleep together, there were plans. We talked about how we would hide it from you, how we would make sure no one found out. There were times we went out, met up when you weren't around. There were messages sent that I thought no one would find, and lies I told you to keep everything going smoothly." Jasmine, still trembling, added softly, "I know it doesn't make sense, but it wasn't just physical. There were emotional things that happened, too. And I thought maybe if I just kept quiet, it wouldn't hurt anyone. But I was wrong. I was so wrong." The air in the room shifted, the weight of the truth bearing down on everyone like a freight train. The intensity of the moment was impossible to ignore. Rasheeda, though shattered by the enormity of what was unfolding, was not going to let this go. She had to face it all. She had to confront every last part of the betrayal, no matter how much it tore her apart. "So, let me get this straight." Rasheeda's voice shook, but she was determined. "It wasn't just the affair, it was the secrecy. The lies you told me for months. You planned everything together, behind my back, laughing at me while I sat here thinking everything was fine. Is that it?" There was a long silence before Kirk finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. Yes, that's it. We thought we could control it. We thought we could hide it. But now, I see how wrong we were. I don't know how to fix this, Rasheeda. I don't know what I can do to make it right." Rasheeda closed her eyes for a moment, her head falling into her hands. "You can't fix this," she said quietly, more to herself than anyone else. "You can't fix what's been broken. Not anymore." Jasmine, standing beside Kirk, let out a quiet sob. "I'm so sorry, Rasheeda. I wish I could take it all back. I really do. I didn't mean for it to go this far. But Rasheeda raised her hand, stopping her mid-sentence. "Enough. I don't want to hear it anymore. I'm done listening to excuses." Her voice was firm, and yet, there was a tremor of vulnerability hidden beneath the surface. The room was eerily silent, the emotional tension at a boiling point. Everyone stood still, unsure of what to do next, watching as Rasheeda fought to hold herself together. Her heart was breaking, but her resolve was stronger than ever. The truth had come out, everything that she had feared, everything that she had suspected, had been confirmed. But even now, as the dust began to settle, Rasheeda wasn't sure how to move forward. Yandy stepped in again, her voice gentle. "Rasheeda, you don't have to make any decisions right now. Take your time. This is a lot to process, but don't feel like you have to carry all of this alone." Rasheeda, looking exhausted but determined, met Yandy's eyes. "I don't know what to do with all of this. I don't know how to even start processing the damage." She took a deep breath, wiped away the tears threatening to spill over, and turned back toward Kirk and Jasmine. "I want you both to leave," she said firmly, her voice carrying authority, though tinged with pain. "I need space. I need time to figure out what this all means, and I can't do that with either of you here right now." Kirk and Jasmine nodded, their faces filled with regret and guilt, but there was nothing left to say. They knew they had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. As they quietly left the room, Rasheeda remained standing in the middle, the weight of the confrontation pressing down on her shoulders. She had been betrayed in ways she never thought possible, but now, the hard part was just beginning. The path to healing, if it could even be called that, would be long, uncertain, and painful. But one thing was clear. Rasheeda was done being a victim of this twisted game. She would fight for her peace, fight for her dignity, and fight for herself because, after everything, she deserved to find her strength again. The aftermath of Kirk and Jasmine's departure left the room in a state of uneasy silence. Rasheeda stood alone for a moment, the weight of betrayal pressing down on her chest, threatening to crush her entirely. Her mind raced, replaying every moment, every laugh, every shared secret, every glance that now seemed tainted by deception. She had always trusted them, believed in them, and yet, here she was, facing the raw truth of their duplicity. She could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins. An almost physical manifestation of the storm of emotions raging inside her. Anger, heartbreak, disbelief and humiliation collided in her chest. Each one demanding attention, each one vying for dominance over her fragile equilibrium. As she tried to steady her breathing, the phone buzzed incessantly on the table. Notifications flooded in messages, social media alerts, texts from friends, and concerned family members. It seemed the world had already caught wind of the drama, and everyone was eager to weigh in. Rasheeda's heart sank further. She realized that her private pain was now public entertainment. She scrolled through the notifications, seeing the range of reactions from stunned fans, shocked followers, and even sympathetic supporters. Comments ranged from "I can't believe this" to "she deserves better," to the crueler side of public opinion, people mocking the situation without a shred of empathy. Every notification felt like another blow. Another reminder that the betrayal had not only reached into her personal life but was now a spectacle for everyone to judge. She sank into a chair, her hands trembling as she tried to compose herself. Thoughts raced through her mind, impossible to quiet. How could Kirk do this? How could Jasmine betray her trust so blatantly? The sheer audacity of their actions was overwhelming. Rasheeda had always prided herself on her intuition, her ability to sense when something was amiss, yet she had been blindsided completely. The realization that she had been deceived for months gnawed at her, leaving her feeling exposed and vulnerable. Every memory of shared laughter, every tender moment, now carried the bitter aftertaste of betrayal. As she sat in the quiet room, the door opened gently, and Yandy stepped back in. Her expression was a mixture of concern and determination. "Rasheeda," she said softly, approaching her friend carefully, "I know this is unbearable right now, but you're not alone. You have people who care about you, who will stand by you no matter what." Rasheeda looked up, her eyes red and swollen, a mixture of tears and fury clouding her vision. "I don't know if I can trust anyone anymore," she whispered. "I feel like my whole world has been turned upside down. Everyone I counted on, everyone I believed in, they lied to me." Yandy sat beside her, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "It's natural to feel that way. The betrayal cuts deep, and it will take time to process. But you're stronger than you realize, Rasheeda. You've been through challenges before, and you've come out on top. This is just another battle, a difficult, painful one, but you won't face it alone." Rasheeda nodded slowly, drawing in a shaky breath. She wanted to believe Yandy, but the raw wound of betrayal was still too fresh, too raw, to fully accept comfort. Yet, even amidst the pain, a spark of determination flickered inside her, a resolve to rise above the deception, to reclaim her dignity, and to confront the aftermath with courage. The following days were a whirlwind of emotional turbulence. Rasheeda navigated a complex web of interactions, both online and offline. Friends reached out, some offering solace, others expressing shock and anger on her behalf. Fans inundated her social media with messages of support, sharing their own experiences of betrayal and loss, creating a sense of collective empathy. Yet, with the flood of support came the harsh glare of public scrutiny. Rumors spread, speculations ran rampant, and every small detail of her personal life was dissected and debated. Rasheeda learned quickly that in the digital age, private pain often became public spectacle. She found herself caught between wanting to retreat from the world entirely and the need to assert her narrative, to reclaim her voice amidst the chaos. Amidst this maelstrom, Rasheeda began to reflect on her own journey. She thought about the strength she had demonstrated throughout her life, the obstacles she had overcome, and the resilience that had carried her through past trials. This introspection became a source of empowerment. She realized that while Kirk and Jasmine had betrayed her, they did not define her, nor did their actions dictate her future. The betrayal, as devastating as it was, could become a catalyst for personal growth and self-assertion. Rasheeda resolved to confront the situation head-on, to demand accountability, and to ensure that her voice was heard not just in private, but publicly, to reclaim the narrative that had been hijacked by deceit. A week later, Rasheeda decided to host a private gathering, inviting close friends and family to discuss the situation openly. She wanted transparency, confrontation, and closure. As guests arrived, the tension in the room was palpable. Everyone sensed that this gathering was more than casual, it was a reckoning. Rasheeda, seated at the head of the room, exuded a calm intensity. Her gaze swept across the faces of those present, acknowledging their concern, their support, and their curiosity. "I've been hurt," she began, her voice measured yet carrying an undeniable weight. betrayed in ways I never imagined. But I refuse to let this define me or control me. I want the truth, and I want accountability. Conversations began, and as each person shared their observations, suspicions, or support, the atmosphere grew charged with emotion. Memories of Kirk and Jasmine's deceit were dissected, each revelation eliciting gasps, murmurs, and tears. The intensity of shared empathy created a bond among those present, uniting them in a collective recognition of betrayal and resilience. Rasheeda listened intently, her mind absorbing every detail, every perspective, every nuance of the situation. She realized that the path to healing was not solitary. It required the acknowledgement of others, the confrontation of truths, and the articulation of her own experiences. During the gathering, Rasheeda made a bold decision to address the public directly. She recorded a heartfelt message, speaking with unflinching honesty about the betrayal she had endured. Her voice trembled with emotion, yet carried the strength of someone determined to reclaim her narrative. She recounted the affair, the secrecy, and the devastating impact it had on her life. But she also emphasized her resilience, her refusal to be defined by deceit, and her commitment to moving forward with dignity. The message resonated widely, attracting support from fans, followers, and peers alike. Social media erupted, with messages of encouragement, admiration, and solidarity flooding her platforms. Rasheeda realized that while betrayal had brought immense pain, it had also revealed the depth of support and empathy surrounding her. In the weeks that followed, Rasheeda focused on rebuilding her life, both emotionally and socially. She distanced herself from those who had betrayed her, setting firm boundaries to protect her mental and emotional well-being. She sought therapy, engaged in reflective practices, and surrounded herself with trusted friends and family. Slowly, she began to reclaim her sense of self, finding strength in her own resilience and in the unwavering support of those who truly cared for her. Each step forward was a testament to her determination to rise above the pain, to confront the betrayal with courage, and to redefine her narrative on her own terms. Amidst this period of recovery, Rasheeda encountered new challenges: public speculation, lingering questions, and the constant reminder of past deceit. Yet, she met each challenge with grace and fortitude. She spoke openly about the lessons learned, emphasizing the importance of self-worth, trust, and accountability. Her journey became a source of inspiration, demonstrating that even in the face of profound betrayal, strength, resilience, and personal growth were possible. Through confrontation, reflection, and empowerment, Rasheeda transformed the narrative from one of victimhood to one of agency, courage, and unwavering support. As months passed, the storm of betrayal slowly receded, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose. Rasheeda continued to share her story, advocating for honesty, transparency, and the importance of personal integrity in relationships. She rebuilt her social circle, nurturing bonds with those who had proven their loyalty and sincerity. While the scars of betrayal remained, they were now symbols of survival, resilience, and the capacity to rise above even the most devastating of circumstances. Rasheeda's journey from heartbreak to empowerment became a testament to the human spirit's ability to endure, adapt, and flourish, even in the face of unimaginable deceit. The weeks following the confrontation between Rasheeda, Kirk, and Jasmine felt like an unending storm, a relentless whirlwind that refused to quiet down. The betrayal had cut so deep that even the smallest reminders, a photograph, a message, or a familiar place triggered an avalanche of emotions. Rasheeda had expected to feel relief once the truth was revealed, but instead, she found herself grappling with a complicated mix of anger, sorrow, and disbelief. Every time she thought she was moving forward, a memory or a social media alert would yank her back into the raw pain of being deceived by people she had trusted most. The digital age, she realized bitterly, ensured that private heartbreak was never truly private. Every whisper, every glance, every private exchange was subject to public scrutiny, discussion, and judgment. As Rasheeda began the painstaking process of rebuilding her life, she realized that self-reflection was her first step toward reclaiming control. She spent long nights writing in her journal, documenting every detail of her emotional journey. She noted how she had been blindsided, the subtle signs she had missed, and the moments of deception she had now recognized in retrospect. There was a peculiar clarity in writing, a way to untangle the complex web of emotions and events that had left her reeling. By confronting each painful memory on paper, she could examine it from a distance, dissecting it without the immediate sting of betrayal overwhelming her. This exercise became a lifeline, a method for transforming raw pain into conscious understanding. Simultaneously, Rasheeda began to redefine her relationships. She realized that trust, once broken, required more than forgiveness, required deliberate choices about who to allow into her inner circle. Family members rallied around her, offering support, guidance, and a steady presence amid the chaos. Old friends who had remained loyal became anchors, while others who had been distant or judgmental were quietly phased out of her daily life. She learned to listen, to distinguish between genuine concern and performative sympathy, and to value the relationships that provided true solace rather than simply filling the silence with empty words. It was a slow, sometimes painful process, but it was essential. Rasheeda understood that in the aftermath of betrayal, one's inner circle became both shield and foundation, protecting against further emotional harm while reinforcing a sense of stability. One afternoon, Rasheeda decided to host a small gathering of close friends and family, a symbolic act to reclaim her social space and confront the echoes of the betrayal. The room was tense at first, filled with an undercurrent of anticipation and unspoken curiosity. Everyone understood that this was more than a casual meeting. It was a reclamation of voice and narrative. Rasheeda, standing tall in the center, exuded a quiet power that contrasted sharply with the tumult of emotions that had dominated the previous weeks. "I've endured pain that I never imagined," she began, her voice steady yet tinged with emotion. "I've been betrayed in ways I couldn't have anticipated, but I refuse to let this define me, to let it control my life or the way I see myself." The gathering evolved into a powerful dialogue, with each participant sharing perspectives, memories, and insights. Friends recounted moments they had observed, subtle inconsistencies, or warning signs they had tried to communicate. Family members spoke with empathy and concern, offering advice and reassurance. The shared storytelling was cathartic. It allowed Rasheeda to process her pain in the context of a supportive community, transforming isolation into solidarity. Each narrative, each confirmation of truth, became a brick in the foundation of her recovery, reinforcing her sense of self and her ability to trust again selectively. Rasheeda also made the conscious decision to reclaim her public narrative. Social media, which had been a source of anxiety and exposure, became a tool for empowerment. She recorded candid videos addressing the betrayal, sharing her journey with unflinching honesty. In these recordings, she spoke of the heartbreak, the deception, and the lessons learned. Yet, she also emphasized resilience, personal strength, and the importance of reclaiming agency in the face of adversity. Her message resonated widely, drawing support not only from longtime fans but from strangers who recognized the courage required to confront such raw and personal betrayal publicly. Comments poured in, messages of solidarity and encouragement reinforcing her determination to move forward on her own terms. Amidst these public and private efforts to reclaim her life, Rasheeda also sought professional guidance. Therapy sessions became a cornerstone of her recovery, offering a structured space to examine the depth of her emotional wounds. She explored not only the betrayal itself but the underlying dynamics that allowed such deceit to occur. Questions of self-perception, attachment, trust, and vulnerability were addressed, helping Rasheeda to understand her own role in the relational dynamics without blaming herself for the actions of others. These sessions were emotionally taxing, often leaving her exhausted and raw. Yet they were crucial for building the mental fortitude needed to navigate a world where the wounds of betrayal could resurface unexpectedly. In addition to therapy, Rasheeda began to immerse herself in new routines and practices that fostered resilience. She explored mindfulness exercises, meditative practices, and physical activity as ways to ground herself in the present and reduce the weight of emotional turmoil. Yoga, running, and dance became more than hobbies. They were mechanisms to reconnect with her body, to channel her emotions constructively, and to regain a sense of agency over her life. Gradually, these practices instilled a rhythm and structure, providing a sense of stability in a life that had been destabilized by betrayal. Each session, each deliberate breath, each moment of focused physical exertion became an act of reclaiming herself from the chaos imposed by others' deceit. Simultaneously, Rasheeda began to confront the broader impact of the betrayal on her public persona. As a figure under public scrutiny, she realized that the drama surrounding her personal life had become a spectacle. Interviews, social media commentary, and public speculation all exerted pressure, creating an additional layer of stress. She approached this challenge strategically, learning to assert boundaries and control the narrative. Carefully curated statements, measured social media engagement, and deliberate public appearances allowed her to maintain dignity and authenticity while mitigating the potential for further exploitation or misinterpretation. In doing so, Rasheeda transformed the public attention from a source of anxiety into an arena for empowerment and reclamation of her voice. Months passed, and with each passing day, Rasheeda's confidence and sense of self steadily grew. She began to explore new personal and professional ventures, drawing on the lessons learned from her journey through betrayal. Business opportunities, creative projects, and philanthropic initiatives became outlets for her energy and focus. Each success, no matter how small, reinforced her resilience, providing tangible evidence that life could continue, thrive even, beyond the shadow of past betrayals. Her narrative shifted from victimhood to empowerment, illustrating the capacity for growth and renewal in the wake of profound emotional upheaval. As Rasheeda's journey unfolded, she also engaged in reflective dialogue with those closest to her. Mentorship, friendship, and family bonds deepened, strengthened by shared understanding and mutual support. Conversations about trust, boundaries, and personal integrity became more frequent, providing both guidance and reassurance. The process of rebuilding trust, careful, deliberate, and measured, was slow but steady, allowing Rasheeda to discern who genuinely valued her well-being and who had shown the capacity for betrayal. This discernment became a critical component of her renewed sense of agency and control. In the public sphere, Rasheeda's narrative continued to resonate widely. Fans and followers engaged deeply with her story, drawing inspiration from her resilience and determination. Online forums, social media platforms, and fan communities buzzed with discussion, offering support, shared experiences, and a sense of collective empathy. Rasheeda recognized the power inherent in sharing her journey honestly and vulnerably, understanding that her story could provide solace and encouragement to others navigating similar challenges. The transformation of personal pain into a platform for empowerment reinforced her sense of purpose and underscored the importance of narrative control in shaping one's trajectory after betrayal. Through continued introspection, public engagement, and personal empowerment, Rasheeda gradually reclaimed her sense of self. The betrayal, while deeply scarring, became a catalyst for profound personal growth. She cultivated emotional resilience, strengthened relationships with trusted allies, and reasserted control over her narrative. Her life, once disrupted by deceit and heartbreak, evolved into a testament to the human capacity for recovery, agency, and renewal. Rasheeda's story, marked by betrayal, confrontation, and eventual empowerment, demonstrated that even in the face of profound emotional devastation, strength, dignity, and the ability to thrive were attainable, creating a powerful example of resilience for both her personal circle and her wider audience. The days that followed Rasheeda's public reckoning with Kirk and Jasmine were a delicate balancing act between exposure and introspection. Every morning, she awoke to a world where private pain had been transformed into public spectacle, where her heartbreak was dissected, debated, and sensationalized. The lines between personal grief and entertainment blurred, making it difficult for her to navigate her own emotions without the awareness that millions were watching, commenting, and forming judgments. Yet, Rasheeda refused to retreat entirely into silence. She recognized that hiding would not allow her to reclaim her narrative, and so she approached each day with careful intention, threading a path between visibility and self-preservation. One of the first steps in this renewed journey was restructuring her social environment. Rasheeda realized that proximity to those who had betrayed her or who facilitated the gossip surrounding the affair would hinder her recovery. She made conscious decisions to distance herself from toxic influences while deepening connections with trusted allies. Her inner circle became smaller but more reliable, providing a safe space for unfiltered conversation and emotional processing. Through these interactions, Rasheeda found validation for her pain, guidance for her next steps, and a renewed sense of solidarity, an essential buffer against the harsh glare of public scrutiny. Amid the personal restructuring, Rasheeda also engaged more deliberately with her professional life. Previously, her career had been intertwined with her personal identity, and the scandal threatened to overshadow her accomplishments. Determined to assert control, she initiated projects that emphasized her talents, leadership, and vision, creating opportunities for her achievements to speak for themselves. By focusing on work, she redirected energy that could have been consumed by despair into productivity and creativity. Each project completed, each success celebrated, became a small victory, a reminder that her life and legacy were not defined by the betrayals she had endured. Social media, a double-edged sword throughout the ordeal, became a strategic platform for empowerment. Rasheeda curated content carefully, sharing insights into her healing process, her professional ventures, and the lessons she had learned from the tumultuous events. The transparency of her posts fostered empathy among followers, many of whom resonated with her resilience. Comments ranged from personal stories of overcoming betrayal to encouragement and praise for her strength. Rasheeda found that controlling the narrative allowed her to transform public curiosity into genuine support, turning what had once been a source of anxiety into a resource for connection and validation. Despite these proactive steps, moments of vulnerability were inevitable. There were evenings when Rasheeda would sit alone, replaying memories and questioning the authenticity of relationships she had trusted implicitly. These moments were raw and painful, a testament to the depth of the emotional upheaval she had experienced. However, she approached them with intentionality, using journaling, meditation, and reflection to navigate the intensity. By naming her feelings and acknowledging the hurt, Rasheeda gradually gained mastery over the emotional landscape that had previously felt overwhelming and uncontrollable. One particularly pivotal moment occurred during a private therapy session. The therapist encouraged Rasheeda to explore not only the betrayal itself but also the underlying relational patterns that allowed such deceit to fester. Questions about boundaries, personal expectations, and communication dynamics prompted her to confront uncomfortable truths about her own vulnerabilities and strengths. Rather than assigning blame to herself, she reframed the exploration as an opportunity to understand relational dynamics, to identify patterns that could be addressed in future interactions, and to cultivate resilience. The session concluded with a renewed sense of purpose, a recognition that self-awareness was a critical component in rebuilding trust and emotional stability. Parallel to this internal work, Rasheeda also navigated interactions with Kirk and Jasmine in the aftermath of their confrontation. Though she had demanded space initially, circumstances forced her to address logistical and social considerations. Each encounter was laden with tension, requiring careful management of emotions and boundaries. Rasheeda approached these interactions with a combination of assertiveness and composure, ensuring that her voice was heard while maintaining dignity. By refusing to be drawn into reactive conflict, she modeled a level of emotional maturity that contrasted sharply with the chaos that had preceded. The journey of reclaiming her social and emotional space also involved confronting public speculation. Interviews, online commentary, and fan reactions often reflected both genuine concern and sensationalized curiosity. Rasheeda adopted a strategy of controlled transparency, providing insights into her experiences without divulging unnecessary personal details. This approach allowed her to maintain authenticity while protecting aspects of her life from exploitation. Over time, the public narrative shifted from voyeuristic fascination with scandal to admiration for her resilience, reinforcing the value of thoughtful, deliberate engagement with media in moments of personal crisis. As weeks turned into months, Rasheeda expanded her focus beyond personal recovery to broader advocacy. She began speaking on themes of trust, betrayal, and personal empowerment, using her experience as a platform to foster dialogue about emotional resilience and relational integrity. Workshops, interviews, and public appearances allowed her to translate personal pain into communal learning. She emphasized the importance of self-respect, boundary setting, and accountability, positioning her experience as both cautionary tale and inspirational journey. The transition from victim to advocate marked a significant evolution in her personal narrative, reinforcing a sense of agency that had been eroded by betrayal. Throughout this period, Rasheeda also confronted residual emotional complexities. The interplay of anger, grief, and residual attachment created moments of internal conflict, yet, she approached these moments with introspective honesty, recognizing that processing betrayal was not linear, and that moments of doubt or emotional resurgence were natural. Mindfulness practices, including guided meditation, breathwork, and reflective journaling, provided tools to navigate these waves of emotion without losing grounding. Each moment of emotional insight strengthened her capacity to respond rather than react, cultivating a resilience that became increasingly central to her identity. Meanwhile, interactions with friends and family deepened in significance. Those who had remained loyal offered not only emotional support but also perspectives that challenged Rasheeda to reflect critically on relational dynamics. Conversations about trust, loyalty, and emotional boundaries provided both validation and guidance. Through these dialogues, Rasheeda honed her ability to discern authentic relationships, to engage with empathy without sacrificing self, and to foster connections that supported growth rather than perpetuated vulnerability. In addition to emotional and relational work, Rasheeda also explored creative and professional avenues that reinforced her sense of purpose. Projects that highlighted her strengths, whether in entrepreneurship, community initiatives, or artistic endeavors, served as both distraction and empowerment. Each achievement, each milestone, represented a reclaiming of agency, a demonstration that her life could continue to evolve positively despite past betrayals. By channeling energy into constructive pursuits, Rasheeda reinforced the principle that personal devastation could be transformed into growth, opportunity, and resilience. Public engagement remained a crucial aspect of her journey. By curating content thoughtfully, engaging with followers meaningfully, and maintaining transparency without oversharing, Rasheeda managed to reshape the narrative surrounding her life. Her story evolved from scandal-focused sensationalism to one of empowerment, demonstrating the capacity to turn adversity into inspiration. Social media, once a source of anxiety, became a platform for connection, reflection, and influence, amplifying her voice and fostering a sense of communal support. As months passed, the cumulative effect of emotional work, professional focus, and strategic public engagement began to manifest in Rasheeda's demeanor and self-perception. She carried herself with renewed confidence, a sense of inner strength forged through confrontation, reflection, and action. The scars of betrayal remained, visible reminders of past pain, yet they no longer defined her. Instead, they marked the journey from deception to clarity, from isolation to empowerment, from heartbreak to resilience. Rasheeda had transformed personal devastation into a platform for growth, demonstrating the possibility of rising above betrayal while reclaiming both dignity and agency. The journey was ongoing, as personal healing rarely occurs in neat, linear stages. Yet Rasheeda's consistent commitment to reflection, self-care, and empowerment established a framework for sustained resilience. She had navigated the storm of betrayal, confrontation, and public scrutiny, emerging not only intact but strengthened. Her life had been irrevocably changed, yet she had taken control of the narrative, redefining her identity, reclaiming her agency, and asserting her power both privately and publicly. Through strategic action, emotional honesty, and relentless determination, Rasheeda exemplified the capacity to transform profound personal betrayal into a story of enduring strength and empowerment. And now, after everything we've witnessed, the betrayals, the heated confrontations, the shocking revelations, and the emotional roller coaster that Rasheeda endured, it's time to pause and reflect on the story that has unfolded before your eyes. This has been more than just entertainment. It has been a deep dive into the raw and unfiltered world of human relationships, a glimpse into how trust can be shattered in a single moment, and how resilience can emerge from the ashes of heartbreak. You've seen how Rasheeda, faced with betrayal by those closest to her, navigated an ocean of emotions from disbelief and rage to sorrow, and, finally, empowerment. Her journey is a testament to the strength of the human spirit, the complexity of trust, and the power of reclaiming your own narrative when life seems determined to rob you of control. It reminds us all that while betrayal can leave scars, those scars are not permanent markers of weakness. They are symbols of survival, endurance, and ultimately, triumph. Now, here's the question you have to ask yourself as you process this drama. What would you do if someone you trusted most betrayed you in the most public, shocking way possible? How would you reclaim your power? How would you navigate the fine line between confronting the truth and maintaining your dignity? Rasheeda's story isn't just hers, it's something that resonates with anyone who has ever been hurt, deceived, or left questioning the intentions of those they care about. Every insult, every secret exposed, every tear shed in silence or in public, is something many of us can relate to, even if the scale is different. And in watching her respond, we learn that vulnerability is not a weakness, that seeking support is a necessity, and that standing tall in the face of heartbreak is an act of courage itself. Your engagement matters now more than ever. We want to hear your thoughts on this intense saga. Did Rasheeda handle the situation the right way? Were there moments you wish she would have acted differently? Do you think Kirk and Jasmine truly understood the depth of the pain they caused? Every opinion, every perspective adds to this ongoing conversation, transforming this story from passive entertainment into a living, breathing dialogue that connects us all. Share your insights in the comments, don't hold back, because every voice contributes to the narrative and allows us to see the drama through countless different lenses. Sometimes, reading another perspective can help us process our own feelings and reflect on our own experiences with trust, betrayal, and forgiveness. And while you're processing, remember this: your support fuels the stories we bring to life. Liking this video tells us that you want more, that you're engaged, that these narratives, these intense, emotional, and dramatic experiences resonate with you. Subscribing ensures you never miss a twist, a confrontation, or a shocking revelation as it unfolds. And it allows you to be part of a community that thrives on discussion, empathy, and shared intrigue. Hitting that notification bell means you're first in line to witness every emotional surge, every heated argument, and every unexpected twist as it happens. In this world of drama and deception, being part of an informed audience is a way to stay connected, to anticipate, and to engage with the stories that captivate us all. Think of this as more than just a video. It's an invitation to join a conversation about loyalty, betrayal, empowerment, and resilience. An invitation to step into the lives of others, to understand their choices, their mistakes, and their triumphs. An invitation to reflect on your own life, to ask yourself how you might respond in similar circumstances, and to explore the complex terrain of trust and emotional survival. Each like, each comment, each share isn't just an action, it's a way to engage with the story, to make it your own, and to be part of the broader dialogue that keeps these narratives alive and relevant. As Rasheeda's journey continues, you have the unique opportunity to witness not only her confrontations but also her growth. You've already seen her navigate the immediate shock and emotional upheaval, but the path ahead is filled with discovery, strategy, and empowerment. She's taking control of her narrative, shaping her public persona, and turning a painful, chaotic experience into a story of resilience and strength. By staying connected, by engaging with her story, you are witnessing firsthand the transformation from chaos to control, from vulnerability to empowerment. And in many ways, your engagement amplifies this transformation. It allows the story to reach more people, to spark more conversation, and to inspire those who might be facing similar challenges in their own lives. So here's the action we're asking of you. Comment below with your thoughts. Like the video if Rasheeda's courage and determination resonated with you, and subscribe to our channel to follow every twist, every confrontation, and every moment of triumph as this story continues to unfold. Don't just watch passively, be part of the conversation, part of the community, and part of the journey. Every click, every comment, and every interaction strengthens the connection between the story and its audience, turning this narrative from mere spectacle into a shared experience of reflection, discussion, and empowerment. Finally, remember that this story, like many others, isn't just about the characters on the screen, it's about all of us. It's about trust, loyalty, vulnerability, and the resilience required to face betrayal head-on. It's a reminder that even when the world seems chaotic, even when pain and deceit feel overwhelming, there is a path forward. By engaging, by reflecting, and by sharing, you become part of that path. You become part of a community that celebrates courage, demands accountability, and values emotional strength. Rasheeda's story is far from over, and your voice, your thoughts, and your support are integral to its unfolding. So, take a moment, reflect on the drama, immerse yourself in the story, and then act. Comment, like, and subscribe, because your engagement doesn't just support this channel, it ensures that stories of betrayal, resilience, and empowerment continue to reach the people who need them most. Step into the conversation, add your perspective, and stay connected, because in the end, every opinion matters, every voice counts, and every story becomes richer when shared with those who care to listen, reflect, and respond. Stay engaged, stay curious, and most importantly, stay part of the journey. The drama isn't over, and neither is your opportunity to witness, participate, and reflect. Comment now, share your perspective, like the video if Rasheeda's journey inspired you, and subscribe to ensure you never miss a single twist or turn in this ongoing saga. The story continues, and you're invited to be part of it. Your voice matters, your perspective matters, and in the world of drama, betrayal, and ultimate empowerment, your engagement is what keeps the conversation alive.